Thank you, and I am very excited to share this with you today. Have you guys ever daydreamed about being a hobo? Riding the rails, living life on the road, wild and free, just eat, sleep, and move. But you don't, because it's too dangerous, maybe. You don't want to sacrifice everything that you've worked for. But I want to let you know that there is a way that you can spend your summers traveling, living life on the road in relative safety without sacrificing all of your life goals. Although I can't promise that you won't change a few of them. I've spent the last 3 of my summers doing this on the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which is an ancient pilgrimage route from all points in Europe, but the Santiago part is from France to the Atlantic Ocean. It's 500 miles. It's actually kind of easy to walk the Camino. It's sort of idiot-proof because you wake up in the morning and you find the yellow arrow and you walk in the direction that it points, west. And then every mile or so there's another yellow arrow pointing you west. As you're walking this route, you're walking a route that's almost 2,000 years old. Sometimes you're walking on the very stones that the Romans laid down. You're walking a route that's been walked by pilgrims since the 12th century. Some of them seeking spiritual purity, some of them criminals walking in exchange for shorter sentences or smaller fines. Some of them are still criminals doing this, but you don't really know who they are. But most of them just lords, ladies, or serfs escaping the day-to-day life of serfdom, like you, just looking to have a good time or fall in love or change your perspective. As you walk this route that the lords and ladies and serfs walk, it will take you into mountains where you might walk through herds of sheep. You might even come across some wild horses. You walk through days of wheat fields where it's nothing but you and blue sky and butterflies and platinum wheat for days. You walk through forests where you might come across abandoned villages, some with the houses still mysteriously furnished, and if you look, the drawers sometimes still having papers and photographs in them. You will walk past medieval castles. You'll see Celtic tombs. You'll walk all the way to the Costa del Muerte, or the coast of death. But walking along the Camino is not all easy. Sometimes it's actually quite hard. In the morning, you'll wake up and put on socks and underwear that are still damp from the night before, because you washed them out. And it's not light yet. You're up before the sun because James, the American, set his alarm at 5 o'clock again. And you weren't really sleeping anyway because Michel, the Belgian, drank too much the night before and was snoring horribly all night. And that cute Italian guy, he was farting all night. Not so cute anymore. But you're not mad at them because while you were laying in bed and listening to all these private noises that they were making, you were thinking about their public selves and the faces that you saw on the road in the cafe. And somehow that contrast between the private and the public made it hard for you not to love them all. So as you get up and go to the bathroom to wash your face and brush your teeth, you wonder what kind of humiliating element you're adding to this human soup. In the bathroom, you come across 8 other girls and women getting dressed. You think of them as sort of like cellmates now, and you know everything about their rashes and sunburns and bed bug bites that you're going to lie about, because nobody wants to have the backpack next to the person who had bed bugs. And all these girls and women who are in there without any curling irons or flat irons or tweezers or razors or makeup. And you look in the mirror and you think, you know what, I'm going to get some mascara in the next town. It's like, 2 ounces? I can carry mascara in this bag. But you don't, for the same reason that you don't have a razor or a flat iron or any hair products. Because you've got your bag down to exactly 10% of your body weight, and you're pretty sure that this is why, unlike the others, you don't have any blisters or injuries, and maybe also why you're faster than everybody else. So you comb your hair and you put it into a bun again, and you slather on loads of sunblock. And while the others tend to their blisters, sewing them with needle and thread to wick out the moisture or covering them with plasters and second skin, you put on your socks and your shoes that are colored with all the different shades of earth from all the landscapes you've traversed over the last few weeks, shoulder on your pack, and you go. You're walking about 20 miles a day now. And you're going to walk 5 miles probably for breakfast. But everything on the Camino is not hard, and one thing that's not is eating. You certainly are not starving on the Camino. And the reason why you're going to walk 5 miles for breakfast before breakfast is because you ate so much for dinner the night before. For less than $12, you had a 3-course meal, starting with a really protein-laden salad that had a few vegetables, followed by French fries, and then pork in various forms, and all polished off with dessert. And throughout the whole thing, you've had all the wine that you can drink and all the bread that you can eat. So it takes you about 5 miles to get going in the morning. Eventually, though, you're going to want some caffeine and some sugar, and you'll breakfast like the Spanish do, and stop in a cafe for a café con leche and maybe a chocolate croissant. But you're not really worried about getting fat because you're getting more exercise than you have ever gotten in your life. But you do worry. You worry about the others catching up because you've done that before. You've walked with others, and you really want to walk alone. And you are alone, very, very much alone. Just you and this old road and the shepherd's paths going out to the left and to the right. And you start to wonder, what happens if the German shepherd sees me before the Persian shepherd does and comes running out towards me, not very happy? Or what happens as I'm walking along this lonely road that truck that passes stops and backs up and turns around and passes me again? Or what if there are more pilgrims ahead of me, maybe just one? Maybe it's the creepy pilgrim, and he's waiting for me. I don't know what you're going to do in those situations, but you'll do something, and chances are you will be okay. I want you to think about that later, after you do this, that you are okay, and that while the world is not perfectly safe, it's often not as dangerous as you fear. 10 miles later, you arrive in another village. It's a little bit larger, and there's a grocery store, so you can buy some stuff to make a lunch. And sit down at the village fountain and wait for the others to arrive. As they do begin to arrive, they move their fingers like speedy legs and laugh at you. You join them for a coffee and hear their stories from the road. Michel found a puppy, and he's carrying it in his pack now. Marta found a Hungarian in the orchard, and he is just living off the fruit trees because he decided to throw his backpack and credit cards away after the first day. Fabian took a different route, and you may never see her again. And speaking of, has anybody seen the Korean couple from 2 days ago? You time your leaving again to avoid walking with others. You walk west, 10 more miles. You've been walking for hours, for days now. Your mind has conditioned itself to becoming totally empty in a span of about 20 minutes. You see people, you leave them, you think coherent thoughts like, Michelle's puppy's really cute. And then you think in song lyrics. For me, it was often If I Only Had a Brain, seriously. And then you just start thinking in pictures of things that you want, and then sensations of things that you feel, and then nothing. You've not read anything for 2 weeks. You've not watched any television. You speak in simple sentences because you're speaking English with people who don't speak English well, or you're speaking Spanish and you speak it poorly. Or maybe it's just because you're exhausted. In any case, you are only living in your mind, in your body, not in your mind, moving, sensing, and resting. You're seeing the world at a human's natural pace. You realize that most of your life you haven't had time to process each thing as you pass it. But now every building, person, root, stone, you get to see it, acknowledge it, and say goodbye to it all in the time it takes you to walk up to it, pass it, and move beyond it. And it's strange how without thought and language, you suddenly, strangely feel your whole self. And you feel okay alone. And you're not afraid about anything that's going to happen because you know that you have this essential thing in you that won't be changed by anything. Eventually you arrive at your destination. It's a donativo refugio, meaning that you only pay what you can afford. And it's in a 17th century church, and it's run by a monk. You're the first one there. So you take a shower and do your laundry and maybe take a nap. And by the time you wake up, the others have started to arrive. You look around at these people who have offered you friendship and love, people who condescend to you, people who compete with you, people who are insane or just plain boring, and you feel okay with them too, because you realize that they also have this thing inside of them, this changeless, fearless thing. Then you all sit down together for a simple meal that the monk prepared for you, probably soup and salad with lots of protein and pork products. And then, because it's his birthday, you have cake. And even though it's his birthday, he does the dishes for everybody. And because of that, all of you, even the many of you who aren't religious, join his special prayer service where you read aloud the prayers of the religious pilgrims from the night before, each in their own language. And humbled by all the things that people want and need, you go to sleep. Sometime around the end of the 4th week or the beginning of the 5th week, you arrive in Santiago de Compostela and you visit the cathedral where allegedly St. James, the apostle, is buried, and you get your credential. Many people turn back here, but maybe you don't. Maybe you go on to Finisterre or Land's End. Finisterre is a coastal town that's just kind of dark and misty on an ocean teeming with shellfish. And here maybe you go up into the hill on the Cape and you explore the ancient boulders there. As you sit on a boulder, you wonder, is this the famous Celtic sun altar? Or is this the place where Mary supposedly slept when she visited here? Or is this the boulder that's holding down the immortal witches? It doesn't matter because they all look pretty mythic, and there's no one here anyway to tell you the difference. Can you stop walking now after 5 weeks? If not, you can walk down into Portugal, or you can turn north and walk to Murcia. Or you can be like some and turn around and walk back to France or to wherever you came from, Hungary, Holland. But most of us have to get on a bus eventually and experience the disorientation of suddenly traveling at 2 days walk per hour to get on an airplane and have our senses totally recalibrated to modern life. I walked this 3 times until I had worn a path in my mind that I could go back to whenever I wanted. I want you to know that this is out there, and I want you to take this walk or one like it because I want you to know through your own experience that you can be happy with very little, that you can be happy with small daily goals, that you can face down your own fears, that you can travel alone through forests and through cities without being attacked, and that you can not only love but also tolerate pretty much anyone, yourself included.